As I moved into my teenage years, the marches became no less exciting. Although admittedly our excitement was perhaps not about the same things as when we were younger. The sailors of the HMS Caledonia band come to mind in particular. We still got a new outfit for the occasion, and we still enjoyed the shows. It was also admittedly often the first introduction to alcohol for the youth of Linlithgow. If only the Peel could talk. But as I got older, something else began to change. As a child, I recognised the round tablers and wondered who these people were in top hats or red gowns. As I got older, I stopped recognising the round tablers, but increasingly knew the faces of the 41 Club, the Dyers, and the Provost and his party. Then came the terrible day when I realised the round tablers are actually younger than me, a fact I still refuse to officially recognise. My dad then moved up through the ranks, and his first marches as Provost was in 1994. It is my understanding that my dad was the first Provost to invite a daughter to ride the marches with the town, and I joined him in the sunshine for all his 3 years in post. So beautiful was the weather for his reign that he became known as the Sunshine Provost, although I believe he has another moniker, reflecting his tendency to charm women wherever he goes. Hector Woodhouse, the kissing Provost. Undoubtedly, for past Provost Woodhouse, this virtual marches will be lacking in certain affections. Unlike some other ridings in Scotland, the marches has never prevented women joining the celebrations. After all, our emblem is not a black dog. Perhaps our emergence in proceedings has been slow, but at least it has not been prevented. And of course we now have a female senior baillie, due to be Provost in 2022. As a town, we also welcome strangers, the motto of St Michael. This is not a stronghold just for black bitches, but a town that thrives on the input of locals and incomers alike. We have had provosts from as far afield as Armadale and North Berwick. Who knows, after our first female provost, we might even reach a point where we have our first provost born in Bo'ness. But such open-mindedness is maybe a little bit far-fetched just yet. After 3 years riding the marches with the town, I wasn't ready to return to the sidelines. Several of us women of the town, daughters of provosts, councillors and deacons of the Dyers, had long discussed introducing a female fraternity. Fraternity, from the Latin for brotherhood, inevitably led us to the name sorority or sisterhood. Although, without fail, by 5 p.m. on Marches Day, David Benny will be calling us sobriety, a name that neither suits him nor us by that time of Marches Day. What finally made us take forward the sorority of Linlithgow to its first Marches Day was the desire to ensure that Kelly Morton could ride the marches while her dad Ed was provost. We achieved this goal by first riding the marches in 1998, but somehow have never stopped since. Today the sorority is 22 years old, and we would have been riding our 23rd marches. There are adults in Linlithgow who have never known a marches without the sorority. And for all the girls lining the high street over the years, I think that is a wonderful way to grow up with the marches. It wasn't easy at the beginning. There was some suspicion alongside the welcome. I remember the early years of doing visitations to the Dyers at the Champney restaurant. We called it the bear pit, and the heckles that we faced were enough to put anyone off public speaking for life. But before we knew it, we became an expected part of their day. We have even been invited to their virtual lunch this afternoon. We would be welcomed with rousing songs and cheers, and in fact learned we no longer needed to do a speech. We just needed to go and sing to them. I thought about giving you a rendition of one of my visitation songs from a few years ago, but then I remembered we'd all still be sober at breakfast, and I definitely sing better after a whisky or two. Many of those Dyers do not remember a time when the sorority did not visit them on Marches Day. To have created something that has become a part of Marches history is something I am forever surprised about, but also proud. For those new to the Marches, you can spot a sorority lady by her hat. Now I have one here. Unfortunately, this is a cheap version from Amazon because my actual hat is in my dad's house in Linlithgow. The hat is very important. As a child, hats were synonymous with Marches Day. The Round Table in their bowler hats, which we were delighted to see return in 2019. The fore and afts of the 41 Club, the top hats of the Dyers, and the bicorn hats of the Provost and his bailies. Thus, having our own distinct identity through the medium of hat was essential. The sorority deacons have managed a few firsts of their own. The first pregnant deacon, my sister-in-law Karen, in the year 2000. Then in 2006, I was the first breastfeeding deacon. My 3-month-old daughter Beth had to come with me to Blackness so she could be fed. That certainly put a new spin on Blackness milk. We did our visitations to the town in the marquee in those days, while you were all tucking into lunch. Beth was thought to be the youngest ever visitation guest on Marches Day, and she still proudly tells that to anyone who will listen. My children may be Highlanders, but they have been brought up with the Marches in their soul. Sadly, they both missed their first Marches in 2018, the year I was doing this speech. Beth was 12 and required to attend her transition week at Glenurquhart High School in Drumnadrochit, who have yet to recognise the importance of the Marches holiday. My younger daughter also stayed home that week, but she phoned me before breakfast to proudly tell me she had walked 3 times round the square before going to school. And finally, my Marches story brings me here, to the virtual Marches, to my speech at the top table, to joining the procession in a horse-drawn carriage. So I would like to take this opportunity to wish you all a happy virtual Marches 2020. Long live the Marches, and here's to the 15th of June 2021. Happy Marches.